welcome to the Fantasy Football Hot Stove with your hosts, Scott Simpson and Jamie Calandro. I am your host, Scott Simpson. So excited you can join us tonight for the Fantasy Football Hot Stove. We're moving around. We're getting ready for school. I'm so excited to be with my partner in time here, teacher extraordinaire, Jamie Calandro. Welcome, brother. How are you doing, sir?
Doing good. I'm glad to be doing this. I like doing this on Sunday nights with you. We're both teachers, both wrapping up the summer and getting ready for that grind. But for me, it's all fantasy all the time, as much as we can do it. So I'm happy to be here with you.
Oh my goodness. Honestly, like you and I are kind of degenerates when it comes to DFS fantasy. We're chasing it all the time. And so I wouldn't want to do this with anybody else but you. So I'm so excited. No guest tonight. This is going to be us. We're going to be mailbagging it up. We got some good questions in. We're going to kind of talk preseason. We'll go into some of the DFS kind of showdown kind of strategies that you get into in these cash lineups, pick some top plays, some top stacks. We'll say stack attacks to target this week. We'll do some hot seat at the end of our episode. So if you're in for the Hotbox Hot seat, don't worry, we'll get there. It's just me and Jamie tonight. So, we want to kind of get right into it. So right off the break, I want to ask you, what's your top story for week 2 of the NFL preseason? What stood out to you over the course of the kind of whole weekend?
Yeah, this was a fun one. We had a full slate of games, and week 2 and 3 is always very telling because you get to see the rookies get extended time. I think the thing that stood out to me, I think the most, was Zach Wilson, especially since he's kind of been the forgotten one with all the buzz around Trey Lance and Justin Fields, who are not even expected to start. And if you remember last week, we had Lindsay Okay, a great guest, on with us last week, and she was down on Zach Wilson, and I asked her, because I kind of was too, but I asked her the question, who would you rather take at current ADP? Would you reach into that kind of mid-range quarterback for Fields and Lance, knowing that you like him better than Zach Wilson, or would you take Wilson at his ADP, knowing at least he's guaranteed to start week 1? And I think she said she would take Fields but not Lance, or vice versa, one of the two of them. I'd be interested to see her answer to that question, if the week 2 performance moved the needle at all for her, or if it did for anybody else. I noticed that he's a lot more favorable with fantasy football Twitter, but I think Zach Wilson's performance is the thing that stood out to me the most. I think it's going to move some of the jet receivers' ADPs, Corey Davis's in particular. And probably his own, over some that he was kind of being drafted nearby, like whoever the Denver quarterback winds up being. He's down in that range. Daniel Jones, Ryan Fitzpatrick. This might boost him ahead of that. So what about you? Same question for you. What did you see this weekend that maybe stood out?
Just watching Justin Fields scramble for his life stood out to me a little bit, and just kind of how bad the Bears defense, the Bears offensive line was, and kind of how it made world beaters. I know that the Bills have a good defensive line, but you saw Justin Fields get lit up, which, guys, no offense, we don't have to see that anymore. This isn't the 80s. I don't want to see someone's head getting popped off like that. So it surprised me that Justin Fields, after, not that he's a dominant performance, but after he just showed what you need to be surviving behind that line right afterwards, our guy Matt Nagy doubles down, and he's just like, this is my girlfriend. This is Andy Dalton. This is my starter. I love him. He's my best friend. Like, it's so interesting that they're not designing everything, scheming everything around getting him the starting reins, getting him in space. And so it just kind of befuddles me watching, the both of them. I know Andy Dalton had a touchdown, but he's not, we've seen him. We know who he is. He's not very good. Justin Fields has an opportunity to be great. So that kind of just stood out to me. But what do you think about that? What do you think about Andy Dalton just kind of being named the starter again and again, repetitively?
I don't think he's going to last long, even if they're winning. We saw that with Ryan Fitzpatrick last season. There was really no reason to pull him in Miami. He wasn't doing anything to lose the job to Tua, and they did anyway because that was just in the plan. I think we're going to see the same thing here, and I mentioned this last week as well, that the Bears are in St. Louis to open up the season on Sunday night. Or no, my God. Sorry. The Bears are at Rams. They have been in St. Louis for years now. The Bears are at the Rams this week. I do not think they're going to throw rookie Justin Fields into that. And I never thought they had that idea in their head. It sounds like a terrible thing to say, that you're going to basically sacrifice Andy Dalton to the pass rush of St. Louis just to get Justin Fields in.
No, the Rams are they're gonna definitely try to destroy him. So no, you're right. You're 100% right.
And I don't have the schedule in front of me right now, but they have a soft matchup at home against week 2. I think it's Cincinnati, somebody along those lines. I think I still say what I said last week, that it sets up for Justin Fields to be the week 2 starter, no matter what Andy Dalton does in week 1. So I just don't see them putting Justin Fields on the field Sunday night against that Rams defense on the road. I don't see how that would benefit him. So that's kind of my take on that. I don't know about you.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, I think Justin Fields is going to be the man. But I mean, seriously, they got to do something with that line. They got to roll some protection over, or just kind of outperform their PFF rank by 1, maybe. I don't know. So here's a question. You talked about, Zach Wilson kind of standing out. Anybody else stand out for you, rookie performance wise? Somebody that you go, oh, I like that. That was an excellent, eye-catching performance. It could have been running back, wide receiver, tight end, even. Anybody.
Well, a couple. Fryermuth, or however you say his name, he went out of his way to remind us that Kyle Pitts is not the only tight end in this draft class. I think he could have value this year. I do think the one, we can see Evan Eckert in chat saying it right now. I mean, Ramondre Stevenson was the name that we talked about a lot during their game. I wouldn't view that as a big storyline, just because I don't. He can do as well as he wants. He's not going to be the starting running back during week 1. I'm 99.9% confident in that. Damian Harris has done nothing to lose the job. He's going to be the one they run. The one thing I could see Stevenson doing is making Sony Michel be cut, which I do think is going to happen. But and I can see him getting work this year. But I don't see it as anything that should move where you're taking him right now. At best, he's what looks to be a handcuff with upside. But Damian Harris is the running back there. And as long as Cam Newton is the starter, if that happens, that's a fascinating one to me. But as long as Cam Newton is the starter there, he's still going to be the goal line back. So I don't see the value of Stevenson rising. Where do you stand on that? The Mac Jones, Cam Newton. I mean, we could get into that. Where do you think on that one? What are they going to do?
Yeah, I think that, you saw Bill Belichick give him Mac Jones number 50. He's giving him the rookie treatment, which I love. Bill Belichick just being a hard ass. Honestly, I think that he wants Mac Jones to be the starter. I think that would be kind of where he would want to go, just because I think he's a company guy, and not that Cam isn't a professional, but Cam improvises out there, and not that Belichick is against improvisation. I think Bill Belichick likes to improv himself, and be the one who does that. And so I'm just the controlling issue. I do think that Cam has struggled at times during preseason. I think we've seen some of the practices, some of the throws. It's hit or miss. It's either a great play or a worm burner. It's bouncing 6 yards in front of the player. So I would like to kind of see that kind of settled maybe midway through the season and Mac Jones take over. But, unless Cam gets hurt, I don't see it's going to happen. I think Cam will kind of be better than last year. He was doing a really good job until he got COVID. I mean, not to, belittle him or his situation, but I mean, that really just does make an impact on players. We saw it last year. It was a real thing. So, but I mean, to me, the rookie that stood out the most, or has to me, just is Terrace Marshall in the slot in Carolina, man. He's a big slot receiver. He's 6'2". He brings a body. You saw it in the game yesterday, kind of running that fly route, getting to the outside, being able to jump up, get the ball on the edge. I loved it, man. I just think there's a big upside for him. And so I think he stood out the most in the positive side. And then on the negative side, Jamar Chase, man, can't catch a ball. What's going on with him? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. I mean, that was a pretty poor performance against Washington. I'm not worried about it unless you see it start to become a trend. I mean, drops are drops are overrated to me in the fantasy circle. Unless you get, one of those really, really hard coaches that like Belichick that will pull you from the game and never put you back in if you drop a pass. But to me, drops equate to targets. I mean, Deontay Johnson is Droppy McDropperson, and nobody's not drafting him because of that. We know he's going to get the ball thrown to him a ton, and he's he might lead the league in drops, but he's going to convert a ton. So I'm not worried about drops. To me, it just says that they're willing to throw him the ball and keep throwing him the ball. So I'm not moving him up or down based on what I saw from him.
I do notice there's a lot of reaction, overreaction, underreaction, just a lot of reaction to these small kind of reps we're getting to see. You're getting a peek at something, and you're kind of people extrapolating long term. I do think a wait and see approach with him is viable for sure. But then also he hasn't played football for a year and a half or so. I mean, this is not somebody who was competitive last year. So it takes a little bit of time to get your timing back. I mean, he's also on a field with a bunch of guys who have chemistry together, who, are trying to kind of build what they had last year. You have a quarterback who's recovering from injury. So it is a little tricky for sure. I think he'll even out. I just can't draft him at wide receiver 23 right now, wide receiver 24, when there's somebody like Chase Claypool right there. It's just really tricky for me. I do like Higgins if I'm going to go. They're kind of back to back right now, so I'm kind of going to lean Higgins. But at the end, Jamar Chase could definitely come out at the end, really as a strong playoff push for the Bengals. So I'm not going to discount him either.
Yeah, I'm looking at my own Fantasy Pros rankings right now too. You said he is 23. Is that the average?
Yeah, like I use 444. Shout out the guys over there 444. They kind of try to average everything out. So the 444 ADP has him wide receiver 24, and I think Chase Claypool's 25, and then 26, 27 is T Higgins. So they're real close to each other.
Yeah, I have him 27. I'm looking at my own here. I do have him as the highest Bengal. But I'm below Claypool by several. I'm higher on Claypool in the industry though, but I'm below Claypool, right below Lockett, right below Juju, right below Jerry Jeudy, directly above Adam Thielen, Robbie Anderson, Odell Beckham. So,
I like it.
Yeah. So speaking of rookies though, what about rookie poor performances? What did you make of Devontae Smith? Because he was getting some hate as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you have to think that he hasn't been practicing. He had that injury. He's been out, and so not that I'm giving him an excuse or a pass, but I mean, I'm going to expect that to kind of happen, and eventually he is going to be the number one wide receiver there. I'm pretty sure he's going to be that. That's where he's headed. Now the question is, how's Jalen Hurts going to be able to manufacture those balls to him, and how it's going to look, and so I'm not over saturated on Devonta Smith. I like him, but I don't love him like some are kind of like going over the moon. Where do you have him ranked, by the way, in your rankings? If you don't want him, don't mind.
I'm looking down there right now.
Down, that's not good. Down.
I have him 35. 36. So like the last, the last starting wide receiver, I guess, if you will. Oh no, I'm sorry, 37. Why does my numbers all off? I have him directly below. I have Ayuk 34, Boyd 35, Antonio Brown 36, then Devontae Smith, immediately followed by Mike Williams, Michael Pittman, Laviska Shenault.
I like that. That's a good tier to have him in. And I would definitely want Antonio Brown ahead of him, just given the touchdown upside. I think Antonio Brown has potential, even though we're not talking about him necessarily, for 10 touchdowns this year in that offense. There's going to be a bunch of touchdowns. I think I saw that our guy, Matt Waldman, we had him on the show. He predicted them to have 50 passing touchdowns this year from Tom Brady. So, I mean, not that's going to happen, but there is a propensity for Bruce Arians' offenses to throw the football. Last year, they averaged basically 31 points per game. Antonio Brown getting, 10 touchdowns, 60 points for you. That's not without, merit as a real plausible storyline this year. So I really like that. I don't think Devonta Smith gets you 10 touchdowns. I don't think that happens.
No, and the 50, I didn't know Matt said that. It's not out of the question. I mean, they've got, it depends. I think to me, it depends on how much they wind up using Ronald Jones there and how much the defense cuts down the amount of passing plays. But I mean, 3 plus wide receivers, if OJ Howard is healthy, 2 receiving tight ends, 2 receiving running backs, I don't think that's out of the question at all to say that.
Yeah, and the GOAT, you know what I mean? Like,
right, yeah.
Guy gets drunk once a year. It's like major news. It's like one of the best days of all of our lives. Like, we all got happy for him, you know.
Yeah.
Drunk on a boat. Gronk gets drunk all the time. So yeah, no, well, that's good. All right, I think that's a nice little react to the preseason news. That, by the way, was brought to you by Fan Team Advice. Let me just tell you who they have over there. The El Presidente is sitting right next to me. Jamie Calandro himself, the man, the myth, the legend. He's a grinder. He writes articles. He does optimizers. He's there all the time. Jamie, tell them, if you're jumping into Fan Team Advice, what are they going to be getting this year from their subs?
The brand new streamlined optimizer is the thing that we're really proud of this year. It's gone away from the Google Sheets and is now, it's just so visually well done. KJ, our site head, has put a lot of code into it and a lot of work into making it not only useful, obviously, for your drafts, but also visually easy to navigate. So we're actually just updating it a little bit before, just to make sure we stay caught up on any of the preseason news. So it should be really fully updated by tomorrow. But it really will help you. You can customize it to all of your own draft scoring, and the rankings will just adjust by that. It tiers it out. Any of the different scoring systems or roster makeups you can use. It's great. And then once DFS hits, I will be producing my daily articles out there. My weekly articles out there for just a game by game breakdown with the color coded plays, play, caution, don't play.
Yeah, listen, you guys need to jump on, follow Fan Team Advice over there on Twitter. Also follow Jamie, and it's right in there. You can go to their memberships, click on, let them know Jamie sent you, please. All right, so.
What do you got working? What do you got working on? You got some news.
Oh man,
use platform here.
I did just finish up a podcast with one of my favorite people, stepmom Lauren herself. I'm working on the Mayo Media Network, and I'm really excited.
We gotta have her.
Oh yeah, we'll definitely get her on. She's tremendous. Great person to have on. And we just wrapped up our first show right before the show. So I'm kicking it over there. I'm also touting for Prize Picks. I'm touting for Underdog. I'm touting for Run the Sims. We'll talk about them later. Touting for Occupy Fantasy as well. So, there's just so much going on right now with Scotty Too Hottie. And I start school tomorrow. So it's going to be it's going to be a good time. Well, not school, but I start pre-service, back to the grind.
Oh, I didn't know that. I'm next Monday.
Yeah, you're lucky, man. I think it is what it is. I loaded up all my stuff from the attic and then put it in my car, and I'm going to take it into school tomorrow, and we're going to get back into that classroom with no windows, so it is what it is. But anyway, what we're going to do next, and the next section, we're going to talk about, for me, I'm excited about every section of the show, but we have our sections that we're kind of more excited about. This is the mailbag section, brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Go sign up for Underdog Fantasy. They will give you a free $25 when you use deposit code NIMBLE. We'll play there with you too. Jump into weekly leagues. You can jump into head-to-heads weekly coming up. You can do pick'ems, rivals. I went 4 for 4. Yeah, 4 for 4. I won $10 on $1 the other day. So you can win over there. It's a great site to do picks on. I love it. So here's our first question. This is from Jorge Martin, my man. He's in the comments right here. I love him. He says, can Zeke going to the top 4 be justified while sober and not a Cowboys fan? This is Jorge Martin, 17. What do you think about this question?
Of course. Yeah. I don't, it's once you get into that range, I think we're pretty consensus that McCaffrey is going to be number 1. And then after that, it's some form of Henry and Cook, unless you're a giant Kelsey fan, which is fine in that 2-3 range. And then, if you're looking at that, if you're assuming McCaffrey, Henry, and Cook come off the board and you don't want Kelsey, who are you looking at there? You're looking at Zeke. You're looking at Kamara. You're looking at Eckler, maybe in full PPR, and you're looking at Barkley if you're not too afraid. And then Aaron Jones. I'm a little bit less than the industry still on Aaron Jones, but he's been discussed in that range as well. I don't see any reason that any of them are, or that you can't take Zeke over any of those guys. especially in that Dallas offense. We've discussed multiple times on this pod. You're welcome. We've discussed multiple times on this pod the presence of Tony Pollard and how we had Paul Charchian 2 weeks ago who says he's the best backup in the NFL, and I don't think anyone can disagree with that. But Zeke is still good in all facets of the game. So, what do you think, Scott? I would say if I was on the board at 4, I am still in full PPR taking Eckler over Zeke, possibly Barkley, depending on the how the rest of the preseason plays out. But in half PPR, Zeke would be my 4th pick.
Yeah, I'm not going to go Zeke. I'm fading Zeke a little bit this year. I'm going to go Austin Eckler. I do like him better, and I'm also Saquon Barkley. His injury has put me off of him. I'm even thinking maybe Antonio Gibson before Zeke. I don't know. Najee Harris maybe. The thing about Zeke is there is Tony Pollard there, and that's a real thing, and you see him be effective. And so I think Zeke does eat, but I think there's a lot of eating that goes on. So I just can't do it. I'm not a Cowboys truther. Sorry, Bo, if you're in the comments. But we agree to disagree on this one. All right, let's go to the next question. This one is by I got a mosquito in here. Son of a bitch. I missed him. Sorry for clapping on the podcast and cussing too. I definitely missed him. But this is from Dynasty FF Attic. Dude, if you're going to be addicted to anything, being addicted to Dynasty, that's yeah, I like that. It says, who is the Steeler receiver to draft in Dynasty and redraft, and why is it Deontay?
What do you think? That's a fun one. Why don't you take that one first?
I'll jump in. I think it's in Dynasty, I would say it's Deontay Johnson. I like Deontay Johnson a lot. I think that his route running is superb. I know he dropped some passes last year, but he is a very good wide receiver. He's like a mini Calvin Ridley in my mind. I like him a lot. So I'm going to say him. I say in redraft this year, where they're being drafted at, I'm going to go just Chase Claypool because, I'm on a clock right now in a draft, and you know what? I'm about to draft him, Chase Claypool, right now. I just did. I drafted him ahead of Higgins and Kenny Galladay and Thielen and Chase. I love me some Chase Claypool. So this is in Bomick Big Times League. They scheduled a draft right in the middle of our show. How dare they?
You did that on purpose.
Jerks. No, thank you. We don't appreciate that. So, but what about you? Where do you lean in on this one?
So for Dynasty, I agree with Deontay. I do also I love all 3 Pittsburgh wide receivers this year. I think that, we're all making fun of, I don't know if you saw that thing that I think it was FanDuel posted on Twitter, that Big Ben's deep throw that just kind of fluttered up in the air for about 5 minutes, and then it came down in Deontay's arms, but the Detroit safety would have leveled him if he was any kind of safety bound for the NFL. So, there still is the worry about quarterback play, but I do think that this offense sustains 3 top 25 wide receivers. I do have Deontay ranked above them all, but I have Claypool directly behind him. I'm the cash player here. I go for safety. I think that Claypool is a little bit more of a ceiling play, and Deontay is a little bit more of a floor play with the targets, which he was near the top of the NFL in. So I still say Deontay in redraft as well of the 3, but I don't argue yours either, because I love Claypool also this year, and I have him a ton.
Yeah, I like Claypool a lot. So. All right. Next up, this is from me. This is from Nimble W Numbers, and it is who is your favorite late round tight end to target in PPR redraft?
It depends how late we're talking here, but I'm on Blake Jarwin this year for the Dallas offense. I have him ranked 12th in my tight ends right now, so I have him as a low end TE1. Everything about that Dallas passing game just screams upside to me as long as Dak stays healthy, and by all accounts, it looks like that is happening right now. So, one thing to remember, I know Dalton Schultz is there, but Jarwin was set to break out before his injury last year, and I don't think that Schultz is just going to push him out of that. Schultz was TE 14 last year after Jarwin went down, and the one thing to remember with that is that was with utter trash at quarterback, and all the Dallas receivers all still healthy. So it's not like any targets were funneled his way because of injuries to the Dallas wide receivers. They all played the full season. So I really like Jarwin in that offense, and you can get him almost free. I've been taking him basically as my backup in almost every league I've been in because tight ends are falling, or I reach for Kelsey or Waller in the first 2 rounds. But I love Jarwin this year. Who's yours? Who's the late one you're taking?
I really do like your Blake Jarwin call. I have been taking him in at least an underdog for sure. He's been all over my underdog lineups as late round. I still like Fursker. I still like him. I know that you're going to have Julio there. I know that you're going to have AJ Brown and the King, but you still have to have a tight end on the field. Like you have to play a tight end. You know what I mean? So I just like Fursker. I think there's a chance there. You can get him as late as tight end 20. You know what I mean? So I mean, it's like it's free. It's like if you're looking for a free punt tight end as a streamer, I mean, can do worse. It scored 31 points a game last year, 30.6. Like they're gonna score points. That's what they do, and that's without Julio Jones. You know what I mean? They average almost 400 yards a game. So someone's got to get those touchdowns. It's not just I think if Brian Tannehill passes for 35 touchdowns, maybe AJ Brown gets 12, Julio Jones gets 10, maybe a couple wide. I mean, this 6 touchdowns, 7 touchdowns for Fursker is not without merit. So if you can get that tight end touchdown, he could be a good offset in a week where maybe your guy's down. You know what I mean? Maybe you got Kyle Pitts on a bye, or something. I don't know. I like him on upside there. So good.
With it. I'm with you.
Yeah, good turnabout there. Okay, all right. So
I have one for you. I'm going to put you on the spot here.
Well, let's do it.
This is and I'll share my answer that I gave. This I've already answered this question. One of our subscribers at FTA asked me this, and I was thinking since we had the pod tonight that I would just welcome Craig, official FTA subscriber. Glad to have you on the pod. So one of our subscribers asked me this. He's in a keeper league, and he can keep 2 of 3. So basically, the 3 options he has, and it's full PPR, one QB, 12 teams, start 2 wide receivers and a flex. So his 3 options were DK Metcalf in the 2nd round. I'm just pulling this out of this thing. Kenny Golladay in the 6th, Matthew Stafford in the 14th.
Ooh, so can you 1 or 2?
2 out of the 3.
Oh, I would get rid of Kenny Golladay. I mean, he's already injured again. He's already got soft tissue stuff going on. Was growing? Is that what it is? Is it his thigh, his hamstring? What's going on?
It's his hamstring. They're not concerned for opening day, but you have to be a little bit with receivers and hamstrings.
I'm just saying. I mean, he's going to string some ham on that. You know what I mean? He's going to be sprinting. So, for me, I go Stafford. I like DK. I mean, honestly, I like DK. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, and so I gave the same answer, by the way. And I told him that I'm usually not a proponent of keeping quarterbacks in 1 quarterback leagues, but I mean Stafford in the 14th round just is not right. It's
wild. It's wild.
Yeah, that is a mistake there. So I mean that I said screams value. I have Stafford as my QB 11 right now on Fantasy Pros. So you're talking about a QB1 going in the QB3 range. So, I mean, that was an easy one for me. And then the other thing was DK in the 2nd versus Golladay in the 6th. That's about the correct ADP for them. So I just take the better player there and the better value, which I had DK in the 2nd as well.
Yeah, no, I think that makes a ton of sense. And if I'm glitching and freezing up, I don't know. My internet doesn't say it's sucking, but maybe it is sucking. You never know. So I can hear you, Jamie. Can you hear me? Are we good with that at least?
Yep, it's been fine.
That's perfect. Okay, good. And you know what? Listen, I'm beautiful. If I freeze, you can see my beautiful freezing face. It's fine. All right. With that being said, right now I have pulled up the DraftKings week 1 slate, the 13 games on Sunday. What we want to do is we kind of run through and talk a little bit about DFS right now. So we're going to transition. This is brought to you by Run the Sims, runthesims.com. Please go sign up /nimble. My guy over there, Justin Freeman, is crushing it. They have an NFL optimizer. You can go through and just if the page ever loads here, as I'm frozen. There you go. It has so many different tools that you can sort and stack by game, by team. We're going to come back and look at this when we talk later about favorite stacks. I'm going to show you some of the cool tools that you could use on it. But I want to know just for how you approach. You are a cash guy, right? You are a guy who plays mostly. You're not a GPP guy like I am. Tell me about kind of your process. How do you build a lineup? How do you go at it each week?
I do play GPPs as well, but I mean, 80 to 85% of my entries per week will be the cash format. So as far as constructing one, I mean, I will say this. I sense that there's going to be a little bit of a different path that I take this year, similar to the one that I've been taking in season long leagues, where I have always basically punted the tight end and had success doing that.
Mm-hmm.
I do think this year in both DFS and season long, there's such a gap between the top 3 guys and what comes next, that I think that you're going to wind up paying for those tight ends a little bit, that I'm going to wind up paying for them a little bit more than I ordinarily would. Like, for instance, if you look at it right now, I mean, Travis Kelce at 8,300, that's about right for him. But if you go below that, I mean, George Kittle at 6,300 is not, and if you treat him as a wide receiver, then he falls down into the almost like 20th most expensive wide receiver. So you're getting screaming value from that tight end position. So I may not find myself punting tight end as much this year. But ordinarily what I do is take the high floor running backs. The majority of my spending will go on those because you need touches in order to cash in cash games. If your guy's not touching the ball, he doesn't have a floor, and you need a floor in cash. So the first thing that I will build around is the mid to expensive running backs, and then find the receiver values, which there always are.
Yeah. So if you're looking here at kind of that running back strategy that you're going to attack, who is somebody who that you think, maybe the optimizers that you've run or looked at so far, that you're going to be, if you're in a cash game, that you can kind of feel really solid about in this expensive range, or are you going to drop down a little bit lower into this kind of sub 7,000 range? Where are you looking at to kind of build from?
So still 3 weeks to the season, but I mean, if I'm looking right now, first of all, totally justified in taking any of the top guys who all have fantastic matchups and volume coming their way. But I mean, if you look down into that mid $7,000 range, you got Chubb at 7,200, Eckler at 7,000, Aaron Jones at 6,800. That's all of those are ridiculous. Mixon at 6,200. I love all the Bengals in week 1. And we'll get into that when we talk about stacks. Carson at 5,900, Antonio Gibson at 5,900. I think you can build a cash lineup with a combination of them, and I will be putting one of them in the flex as well. So 3 of those will be in my cash lineup, whatever 3 they may be.
No, I like that a lot. And I like the early season running back flex. I think Jordan Vanek's research he did last year kind of showed that by the end of the season, it was more beneficial to put wide receivers in your flex. But as the season did initially go, you can get some of those priced down running backs, like you said. I mean, I'm not into Chris Carson necessarily, but at 5,900, that's a nice little price there. You know what I mean? And Antonio Gibson, 5,900. I mean, what's going on there? That opportunity. He gets 4 or 5 targets in that game, turns 30, 40 yards. He's going to be quad maxing at basically 6,000. So I'm with you. I like it. What about a wide receiver? Where are you heading after you go robust RB or kind of maybe mid-priced robust RB? What's the next step for you in the chain of going down the build?
So ordinarily, you'd be looking. Week 1 is a little bit of a different animal than the rest of the season because the prices come out so far in advance. And I'm scrolling frantically because I X'd out my page that had everything that I'd written down on it. But if you go through during week 1 is the one time you're going to wind up getting $3,000 wide receivers who actually are going to have a role. And I'm trying to find them right now, but I really can't do it. So while I do that, why don't you tell me?
So yeah, well, and my screen is frozen on running back. And apparently, you see my little guy spinning here. Apparently, we only want running backs in our build. We're trying to go like 6 running backs deep or something.
Yeah, it's not going to let us take wide receivers at all. No, even though they're there somewhere.
I know. This is Denny Carter's nightmare right now. So nothing you can do about it. But hopefully my whole internet doesn't just shut down our broadcast over here because we're on a separate. Okay, good. We're clear now. I can see the wide receivers. Okay.
What's are you getting hit by did the weather get you there?
I don't know what's going on. It's really no, we're not. It's really weird, and I haven't had any problems all day, so this is just discouraging. But okay, so I have the wide receivers, and I can see them now, and so
okay.
I like Calvin Ridley at 7,900. Honestly, I love Calvin Ridley this year, all year. I love Calvin Ridley, so he's a priced up wide receiver that I would put in my cash game or in my GPP. I think I'd have some kind of confidence in that. I think I can share now. Let me see if I can get my screen share going. And I'm back in the wide receiver game.
I found my 3K guys too. When you
the 3K boys. Oh yeah,
I found them. I had to find my page and reload it. But so I mean, it's actually the 2 that I saw are Craig has a dynasty question in a second too. Was in the same game, and one you've mentioned already. So Terrace Marshall and Elijah Moore are in the same game facing each other, and both are $3,000. I mean, we kind of got to see a little bit more of how the Jets receiver situation plays out because Corey Davis seems to really be separating himself as the number 1.
But he's cheap too. I think he's like 4,900. So he's playable as well.
He is, yes, very much so. But I mean, Terrace Marshall, like you mentioned, out of the slot, and we know how much Sam Darnold favors his slot receivers. I am a little bit concerned with people being a little bit too high on Carolina wide receivers this year. Just based on last year's production without Christian McCaffrey, I do think that his presence being healthy all year is really going to cut into all of them, just because of how he's used. But at $3,000, what did if Marshall goes 3 for 50 at his price tag, that's more than enough for his cash floor. So that's a play I'm definitely going to be looking at.
Yeah, no, I like the Elijah Moore play too. Run it back if you're going to do a stack, and then tight end wise, kind of piggybacking on what you were saying. I really do like the idea of paying up, but only for players who are going to be featured, like the Kelseys and the Kittles of the world. I'm not able to control my computer again, but I'm getting attacked by the virus over here. But I think Kyle Pitts is cheap as well. Is Kyle Pitts like 4,400? Is that his price? Is that my mind just? I think that might be a play to make.
He's 4,400, right?
400, right? That's just my mind, just knowing it. I like that, running that game back. If you stack a game, for me, one of my stacks, we're going to talk about stacks now, by the way, it is to stack up that Philly game. You could run it back if you wanted to, or you could just run it with with Calvin Ridley stacked up with Matt Ryan and then Kyle Pitts if you wanted to do it. It's not an expensive stack. You could get rid of Calvin Ridley and put in Russell Gage if you wanted to. But I like both those stacks. What about you? What's one of your favorite stacks?
Cincinnati is the one that stands out the most to me right now. I have a feeling as people come to look at the prices more, they're going to wind up being a little bit too highly owned for my taste, as long as everything, Joe Burrow is without limitation and everybody's ready to go for that offense. I mean, if you look at that entire offense, they're all mispriced with Burrow at 5,700. I mentioned Mixon even at 6,200, but Tyler Boyd is 5,200. Jamar Chase is 4,800. T. Higgins is 4,700. You'll never see those prices for these guys again.
Yeah.
So that's one that I want to run a lot of different ways. I'm not really a big fan of triple stacking wide receivers, even though it does differentiate from the crowd who the study showed last year that the majority of stacks were double stacks, quarterback and 2 wide receivers. So a thing that I did do to differentiate sometimes last year, which actually worked, was triple stacking and even single stacking and just run it back with one. But I do think we're going to see a lot from that game. So I'll probably run the different combinations of all those guys. Unfortunately, there's no tight end really for them. I don't trust either one of them on Cincinnati to throw in as a replacement for one of those wide receivers. And then the other one is Tennessee. They're going to be more expensive with AJ Brown at 7,100 and Julio Jones at 6,800, but they're playing Arizona, who will push the pace. The one thing that's concerning me with Tennessee is their slow pace and their run heavy offense. But I do think in that game it could bring out the number of plays a little bit more. So there's a chance to sustain, even if Derrick Henry has a big game, to sustain that passing offense as well. So I do like a Tannehill, Brown, Jones stack, run back with something like Chase Edmonds. I'd like to do it with Hopkins, but that's a ton of money, and you're going to be having to force punts in to do that.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I like your thinking. Here's one thought. You could go, if you wanted to go super expensive stack, you could go Pat Mahomes, Travis Kelce, or Pat Mahomes, Tyreek Hill if you want to get expensive and pay up for the Rolls Royce. I don't know how much people will be on those stacks because they'll be expensive, and also because Cleveland's supposed to be a better defense. But that could differentiate you. I don't know. I mean, also expensive stacks. You got Russell Wilson, and then his wide receivers are expensive as well. Russell Wilson, 7,000. That's not too bad, though. I'm not gonna lie to you. That's not too bad. Russell Wilson. All the quarterbacks are depressed, by the way. I mean, Justin Herbert, 6,700. They're just doing this to create frenzy, I believe. Jamie, don't you think? Just to kind of make it a bloodbath, like super high scores, right?
Yeah, it does kind of seem that way in a sense. I think, like you said, I mean, even Pat Mahomes at 8,100 is low. I think we're going to see him approach 9,000 sooner rather than later. But yeah, and you mentioned Russell Wilson with those receivers. I think that's a good one too, just because as good as Indiana's defense is, they did allow the 4th most fantasy points per games to quarterbacks last year. So if they do kind of let Russ cook, as the thing says, still a very tightly knit offense there. I could see the double stack of Metcalf and Lockett working out there.
Yeah,
sure.
It's expensive. You know what I mean? So, but I like it. Okay, so now we're going to get to the last section of the show. This section of the show is normally in the front with our guests, but with us, it's brought to you by Bo's Hotbox brand hot sauce. I'm glitching up, so I don't know if you can see me, but I'm holding it up. Maybe it'll freeze eventually when I'm holding it up, but right now I don't know. So we're going to turn the hot box on each other this time. So do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first? How do you want to do this?
I'll take it. I'll go first for you.
All right, go for it.
Okay, so this is an interesting one that I was talking about with my dad, and I figured I'd bring it to you as well. So I know that you don't have a team technically anymore, but it was Washington, right? Washington was kind of the team that you were.
Yes.
All right, so we'll pretend you're still a diehard Washington fan with this. So, or you can represent any team you want.
I'll do Washington. That's fine. Yeah.
So the question is, if you could steal any player for your team, not a quarterback, non-quarterback for your team, who would it be and why?
Oh, that's a good question. So let's say I'm Washington right now, and I could steal any one player. Oh man, that's a really good question. No offense to Logan Thomas, but I mean, if you could have Travis Kelce on your team. I think that'd be much better. That'd make that offense like unstoppable. You could pick anybody, Kelce, Kittle, or even I don't know our guy Kyle Pitts. I think just a tight end that offense that is and Logan Thomas is good, but I would love to get a better tight end. Let's just say that. And I don't really know the Washington team too well, so I don't want to overstep my bounds there.
That's a good one. That's a good one. I think he's a unique weapon that is, Mahomes is great, and their offense is fierce and the coaching is great, but he's a factor that other teams simply don't have, and is a big reason that they win. I think so. That's a good answer.
Yeah. I have a question for you, and this is school related. All right. So what is the dream that you have? And maybe you don't have this dream. I have had different dreams over the years, but what is the dream you have before school that is kind of the nightmare before school? Because every teacher has some type of dream like that, and it's a different situation for all of us. So what's yours?
Well, it's not necessarily right before school, but the one that I seem to sometimes have a lot is that my class is so unruly and I can't control them and I can't yell. And I'm curious as a teacher if you've ever had that as well. Like, I go to say like, settle down everybody, and just nothing comes out and nobody can hear me. And the principal walks in while chaos is reigning in my room. That comes back from time to time. And it's funny because, I'm about to enter my 19th year teaching, and not to sound like I'm patting myself on the back here, but classroom management is not an issue. I haven't had that issue since my first couple of years. Like, they know they come in, they know what to expect. So this would never happen, but I still have the nightmares about it.
Now, you know what? I understand that completely. And I've had the nightmare of, like they switched my class the day before, like, oh, now you're teaching a whole nother grade level. That's my fear,
Oh, God.
I know it's not even of going in and doing my job. It's like your job is change. So I think that's the kind of fear I have. So, all right, you're up next. Another hot question for Scott here. Bo went big time in the comments. Love you, Bo. I probably am not drafting very well right now in the league. He's probably making fun of me because
he says you just auto picked what looks like Melvin Gordon.
Oh man, yeah, that's just terrible. Yeah,
I don't know. We'll see. That could work out. Auto snipe LaVisca. Oh, you got LaVisca.
I do.
This is a good one.
I do. So we'll see. It's hard to do this at the same time as drafting. I'm not going to lie. I'm paying more attention to the show than the draft.
Yep. Yeah. I do have to check and see if I'm on the clock in one of my slow drafts in a second too. All right, I have a school related one for you as well.
Okay.
So this is one that I ask teachers from time to time. Assuming I got to assume you have like the typical school day time, like you don't have some kind of weird wonky time there.
No, typical time.
Okay. Would you prefer to have school 4 days a week and go longer? Like the school day was 8 to 5 or 8 to 4 to make up for, those lost hours, but have it 4 days a week and have a 3-day weekend? Would you, or do you prefer getting out at 2:15 or whatever it is you get out? For me, this doesn't matter because I have so many extracurricular activities. I'm there later than most 9 to 5 jobs anyway. So yeah, I don't know what your situation is with that, but what do you think?
I would do that. Yeah, I think I would do that. Makes it tougher time, but getting off the extra Friday every week would just be brilliant. It'd be nice if America was able to afford year-round schooling for everybody, and the way they do it in the UK, in the summer you get 6 weeks off, which is nice. Yeah. But then you go, just 6 weeks, and then you get a week off or 2 weeks off, 6 weeks, 2 weeks off, 6 weeks. So every 6 weeks, it's like a nice reset. And so I like the rhythm over there when I taught in the UK. That was a nice way to kind of break up the teaching. So
I'd prefer that, I think, too.
Yeah, and you still get off. You still, but you're just kind of, the students are more in it as well. They're more plugged in, and there's not a gap. The gap isn't as big, because you don't lose as much over the summer. So it's nice.
Right.
Yeah. I got another question for you. This is not school related. This is fantasy football related. What was your worst pick in the Paul Charchian Guillotine League draft? The one that you just like think back and you go, oh shit, I stepped in it.
Well, I'm going to pull it up. I'm going to say right off the bat, the one was when I auto picked, and I didn't know that I was on the clock, and I think that was Baker Mayfield. I'm pulling it up right now. Who I don't mind having, but I wasn't looking to take a quarterback in that spot. Yeah. I auto picked Baker Mayfield in the, where is it? What looks like the 8th round. And it was at a time where my queue had just been emptied, and I was not looking at a quarterback because I only had 3 running backs at the time, and I wanted at least one of the running backs that was I was about to fill the queue with. And I didn't realize I was on the clock, so I was putting the baby to bed, and I wasn't checking my notifications, and I got Baker Mayfield. So I was stuck with him there. What about you? This isn't my question, but what about you? Same thing.
I got auto drafted Ben Roethlisberger, which was not what I wanted. That was terrible. I was very discouraged about that. So that was
when they play each other, we can really, really root for them, though. Now.
Oh my gosh, I was just like on a plane, and the first time it went on the plane, it was good, and Paul helped out. Second time, I was like, man, this is all me. What are you gonna do? Nothing you can do. My queue was low. All my guys were getting sniped, but I got a lot of good guys. I'm excited about having Tyreek Hill. I'm excited about having Adam Thielen. I got some good value late. So, all right, we'll see. What's your next question? We got, I think this is our last question, then we're good to go.
All right. So this is a fantasy football question as well. As far as you can remember, what is one recent trade you wish you never made, or waiver wire, someone you kind of dropped too quickly? Again, that I'll say what spurred this question on that same subscriber that he and I talk all the time in Discord and DMs, and in that league that I asked you the question about with the keepers, he panic dropped Justin Jefferson in that league, and the poor guy relives it to me all the time. So what's one of those kind of moves that stick out as one you wish you never made? It can be a waiver or a trade.
Oh man, I'm not too keen on the trades. I normally kind of hold my guys pretty tight to my vest, So I haven't made too many trades over the years in my main league. But in this main league, one time I dropped, and this is a long time ago, Randall Cobb when he was first coming out, and he was not Randall Cobb, old Randall Cobb. He was the young Randall Cobb, and I dropped him. And my friend picked him up for $2 or $3 on the waiver wire. He outbid somebody by $3. Other friend went for $2. Cheap being cheap. And then he had finished like wide receiver 10 or something. So it just made and he won the championship. My friend did. And if I would have had him and kept him, I would have won. It just made me so mad. He beat me with him in the semifinals or something. So haunts me this day. It's my co-host. Mike Collins over at the Fantasy Millionaires said, son of a gun, with your, prancing around, so I don't like it.
Oh my God. Hey, so we got another question. If we got a little time to answer it.
Yeah, go for it. Yes, go for it.
I'm going to post this. Craig, who is in the chat just recently, subscriber at Fan Team Advice. He just posted me his dynasty roster in the Discord, and the question he's asking here is that he feels that he needs to trade one of his QBs for either a wide receiver or a running back, and his wide receivers are thin. So, and I just told him it's a trade for sure, but I want to see what your thoughts are, and maybe if you have a preference if you agree with me that a trade is coming. What you would suggest maybe targeting. So his quarterbacks in this dynasty, he's got Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, and Mac Jones. So he's good, beyond rich at quarterback. And his receiver stable here, I'm reading off. We're looking at Tyler Boyd, Jamison Crowder, Travis Fulgham, Alan Lazard, Brashad Perriman, Deebo Samuel, and Adam Thielen. So Thielen or Boyd, in essence, is his is his wide receiver one. So, I told him that he's rich at QB, and that's a trade for sure. Would you agree with that? And maybe what's an offer you might float out there?
Yeah, I would definitely see if anybody wants Jalen Hurts at all after he does some nice work on the field. That's somebody maybe you can move this year to somebody who's excited and wants to grab him up, or maybe Lamar. If you're out on Lamar, try to get some value from Lamar. See if you can pick up a stud wide receiver if your wide receivers are sucking, and then maybe like a third tier, maybe a wide receiver 3 in an offense as well. Guys to target. I mean, honestly, I like you talked about him earlier. Deontay Johnson or Chase Claypool. I take either one of those guys.
Yeah, and he said, he was asking even the further question here, which of course I just closed out again. Like future picks and a mid-round receiver with upside. You think trading Jalen Hurts for, and I think that's very fair.
Yeah.
To get maybe one of those Pittsburgh receivers and a future pick for Jalen Hurts, that would really round out the team. So thank you for that question, Craig. I like when we get the when we get the extra ones as we're going on, because we can still talk football.
No, I love it. No, it's perfect. So let me ask you a question. What are you working on right now for Fan Team Advice? What can people check you out at?
Like I said, we're going to make sure the guide is fully updated with all the week 2 stuff this week, because there is definitely a lot to go over, and we want to make sure that everyone who has bought our draft guide is getting what they paid for. So, by tomorrow, we'll really have all the week 2 stuff. Right now, Fan Team Advice, the articles will start back up when it's DFS time. Like I said, I'll have that DFS game by game breakdown with the green, yellow, and red light plays for week 1. So that'll probably be up the Wednesday or Thursday before the first full Sunday. And on Football Diehards, tomorrow or the next day, I am going to have a Camp Risers and Fallers article up, and I'm doing a joint draft tomorrow with Emil Kadlec, who is the head of Football Diehards. So we're doing a joint draft together, and then we're going to co-write about it.
No, I love that. That's excellent. Please do go check out all the work that Jamie's doing. Football Diehards, Fan Team Advice. I love it. And then also, you can check my workout over at nimblewnumbers.com. I just dropped wide receiver 2 theory. Last year, it was a doozy. I've got some guys in there this year that you might be surprised. Some guys I've shared tonight that you're not surprised about, like Chase Claypool, who I really, really love. So go check that out. And then I think next week we have Brian Jester coming on. The man behind Occupy Fantasy. Really excited to have him coming on. And, we've got a great season ahead of us. We are going to be kind of shifting, not more so, but we're definitely going to be talking DFS this year. And we're trying to figure out a good time slot too on that Thursday, because 8:30 is right when the NFL starts. So it's not great to start your show right when the NFL starts. So yeah. we'll have to figure that out maybe before or maybe halftime. So
I wouldn't watch us.
No, I would watch the NFL, of course. So yeah. Well, I appreciate you guys.
If you're a big DFS player and you wanna come on, chop it up with us, drop either one of us a DM. We're looking for all the minds we can get.
Oh yeah, we'd love to talk to anybody and everybody out there. Maybe we'll get like Mr. Alex Baker to come on, or somebody. I mean that'd be tremendous. Maybe get Lofty to come on. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. Well, everybody, I appreciate you guys checking us out. We'll be back for myself, for Jamie. See if I can nail the outro. This is we'll see. We'll see if it works. I'm not sure if he'll do it. I'm trying my best. My screen is definitely frozen. I can't log off. So people get extra second while my